So in verse 16, in chapter 16, verse 26, it says, "And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, Suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them." So he's blind and asking this little person. Now, think about the pride that is gone. If you research Samson's life, one of the issues with Samson was definitely women. Another issue was pride. And now his pride is totally broken. He's asking this lad to lead him to these pillars. In verse 27, it says, "Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And they were all up under the same roof, about 3,000 men and women, and beheld while they made sport of Samson." So they're all picking and teasing about Samson being blind. Here's the guy with the great strength. This is the guy that the Israelites had as their judge and leading them and stuff. And now we got him in bounds, and they were picking at him. And in verse 28, it says, "Samson called upon the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Let me tell you this, church. You don't have to dot every I and cross every T to get redemption. God is looking to redeem you right where you're at. Samson was humbled, he was broken, and he went to God. Now, we can question whether he had the right motive in vengeance, but that lets you know that God, you don't have to have it all in a straight line. God still wants to redeem because God has his own purposes for it. Because all the Philistines was there to celebrate another God. So he was about to use Samson to show who the true God really was. He wanted everybody that hears of Samson's story that no matter what we do wrong, there is redemption for us. Whether you're in that place or someone you're working with is in that place and they're going through stuff and they're in that place of despair and they're doing stuff wrong, but God is still there and he wants you to know that he will redeem us. So in verse 29, it says, "And Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood and on which it was borne up, one on the right hand and one on the left. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself, and with all his might, the house fell upon the lords, and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death was more than he slew in his whole life. So God granted him the strength to take down more in that one day than he had done in his whole life. Remember, I talked about 1,000. And there's other instances within this story that I didn't even bring up, that Samson was tearing up some folks. But he took care of more in that moment when he was humble, when he returned to God. See, what I want you to understand, and this is the meat of the whole message, is that even though it's our story, we are not the superhero of the story. God is the superhero of the story. Everything belongs to him. That's when I got out of the place of despair. God spoke to me and said, you know what? your mother was only a gift to you for a certain amount of time. She's back where she belongs. She's with me. Every single person you're in a relationship with is not yours. It's the Lord's. He gives them to you for a season, and then he's going to take them back. And if you do what you need to do, you're going to see them again. Because he's the creator. I'm not the creator. He's the creator. So when has God redeemed you, restored you, healed you? What part of your story are you in the midst of right now? It may be the origin or the beginning part. It may be feats of greatness or while you're riding high. It may be the downfall or that despair part. But know this, that God always wants to bring us back to him. And that's the redemption story. He's about restoring us back into right relationship with him. No matter how long you've been out, he's still ready to restore. No matter what you did, he's still ready to restore. No matter what has happened, no matter what age you are, he's ready to restore. Because he's in the restoring business. He was in the business back in the Old Testament. He was in the business in the New Testament. He's in the business in 2018. He wants to restore you. So God gives you gifts and talents that helps us to be a hero. But there is only one true superhero. And that is God himself. Who is the one that started you on your journey? God. Who is there to help you accomplish the good deeds that you did? God. Who is the one that picked you up from that lowest point? God. Who is there to restore the right relationship so we can do great things again? God. God is the answer to all these questions. So isn't God the real superhero?